Welcome to another Rich Habits, Poor Habits webcast with Michael Yardney and Tom Corley. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Great, thank you. Now, Tom, last week we started talking about the 15 habits. There's a lot more, but 15 key habits that self-made millionaires have. And the purpose of this, of course, is that if we can follow the lead of other people who've already walked the path we want to walk, then it's going to make life easier. So last week we spoke about 5 habits that successful people read consistently to learn, that they exercise for their body and their mind, they hang out with other successful people, they pursue their goals, and they get up early. But Tom, I know in your 5-year in your study, you actually found lots more habits. And I cut out how many years the study's been, because while there was an original study, you're a continual student of this, aren't you?
Yeah, so I constantly go back to my research. I'm doing research of other third parties to see if that can corroborate any of my data, and most often they do. Sometimes I find information that I just didn't even contemplate when I did my research, and that's helpful. So yeah, this is every day I go at it at least an hour and a half a day of research.
But interestingly, that's one of the rich habits, that you're learning, you're improving, you're wanting to increase your knowledge, and you're testing yourself, so you're not accepting that you know it all and there could be other ways of doing it. So let's go through a couple more of the habits that your study has found that self-made millionaires have used to get themselves where they are. What's another good one?
Well, this is one that I have totally adopted. It's multiple streams of income. I found in my study that 65% of the self-made millionaires had at least, or had 3 streams of income. There 44% had 4 streams, and 23% had 5 or more streams of income. So when I uncovered that one, I said, well, how can I add multiple streams of income? I was running a CPA firm. Well, I added financial planning. I had to go out for 3 years. It took me 3 years to get all the licenses and the designations. Now we have a very robust financial planning group. And then the author business. I published my first book, Rich Habits, in 2010. Last year I did close to $100,000 in royalties on that. My financial planning is like around 60 or 70. My CPA business is around 200. So I've literally doubled my income just by adding streams of income. So my point is, it works. I'm actually, the irony of all this is I'm following the rich habits, and in an odd way, I'm promoting the rich habits,
Right. Now, one of the sorts of income I like is recurring income, because there's 2 sorts of income. There's linear income and there's recurring income. And I know the backstory that it took you a long, long time to do the research for your book, Rich Habits, your first book. And then it took a long time to write it. And then it was a hard road to get it out there. So you were prepared to delay gratification and look forward. And now that you've got it, and now that you've done it, you've got recurring income every month. There's royalties from the books that get sold. And that was the work you did before. In my line, property investors similarly save a lot of money to get a deposit, we call here down payment, you call it there, and then every month the rent comes in and the property goes up in value. Same with people who have stock market investments or other businesses. The aim is not to get yourself another job. The aim is to get you not more linear income that if you don't go there, you don't get paid, but you want to get recurring income, Tom.
Yeah, and this is important because the main thing that money does is it buys you freedom, and if it gives you the freedom to make choices in life. If you have all other streams of income, something goes wrong, with your job, a new boss, a new supervisor, or the company's going in the wrong direction and you don't like it, no problem. I'll just make a move. I can afford to. I have these other streams of income that will carry me until I get back on my feet with this, my main job.
Another habit of successful people that I know we both share and we both admire is that they find mentors and they keep mentors, and they're prepared to pay for mentors. I hear a lot of people say, I have a mentor because they've read my books or read my blogs. No, they actually don't get the same information as the people who join my mentorship program or people who become your clients. But successful people find mentors that are going to help them get there, and they're prepared to pay for them, Tom.
Yeah, and I, this you said before, I spent a lot of time doing this research. What I really did, Michael, in my mind, is I spent about 5 years being mentored by self-made millionaires. But they were telling me exactly what I needed to do to become successful in life without them knowing it, because they didn't know they were part of a study. But I was literally mentored by 233 millionaires. And boy, what a difference it makes. It completely changes your thinking. It gives you a compass. Most of us are running around. 95% of the population doesn't even know where they're going. They don't have a blueprint for their life. These mentors helped give me a compass and point me in the right direction. So you and I kind of mentor each other because we're doing a lot of the same research, and we feed off of each other. And this is what mentors do. They help their mentees grow, but they also learn from their mentees. It's not a one-way street.
Oh, very much so. The teacher learns as much as well. So successful mentors look at your blind spots. They see your blind spots. They don't tell you what to think. They teach you how to think. And the other interesting thing is they help you network. So only in our last session, we discussed one of the rich habits is you deal with other successful people, but it's not who's in your address book. It's not just who you know, it's who you know knows. And by having a good network of people, you'll often find that your mentors will help you widen your network.
Yeah, and in my mind, I think most people do networking all wrong. That's why I write so much about it. The only right networking is the networking that results in a long-term, strong, powerful relationship. If you're just running around handing out cards to people that you're not going to see for another 6 months, you're wasting your time. That's why I adopted one of the rich habits from my study, which was volunteering. I figured, well, this is what the self-made millionaires do. I'm just going to do it too. Boy, Michael, I have gotten more clients and met more wealthy people just by volunteering. And now I'm the president of the Ashley Lauren Foundation. I rose, up the ladder, I guess you could say, and I'm running it now. And this is great because I have people who I'm giving direction to and who are helping me and the organization, who are very successful people in the community. Some of them are high-ranking politicians in New Jersey and worth 30, 40, 50 million dollars that are on our board. So these are people that open up doors like that, Michael. They make a phone call, and the next thing you know, you're doing an interview for CBS, or you've got a new client. They instantaneously can help you become successful. But in order to get that instantaneousness, you have to build a relationship with them. You can't just hand them a business card. Very
much so. It's a lot about relationships. Another rich habit of self-made millionaires, Tom, is that they're positive. It's the way they think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this in a previous interview, and I want to reiterate how important a positive mental outlook is. When you have a negative outlook on life, your prefrontal cortex is impaired. It doesn't work properly. Your brain is being guided, your actions and your behavior and your thinking and your emotions are all being guided by the emotional parts of your brain, which is your limbic system and your brainstem. So when your amygdala is calling all the shots instead of your prefrontal cortex, your brain isn't working properly. You want to get your whole 100% of your brain working. The only possible way, and this is not me saying it, this is research, this is backed by neurological research, is a positive mental outlook. That activates all of the parts of the brain.
The problem, Tom, is that most people are completely unaware of their thoughts, positive or negative, because to them, most people are thinking what's logical in their mind, but they don't see their negative outlook. And we come across people like that all the time. So that's one of the reasons you hang around with positive people, because they're going to pull you up. You avoid hanging around with negative people who are going to pull you down. But another is to become aware of the way you are thinking, the things you are doing, because you are where you are today because of the thoughts that you've had, which have created the actions that you've done, which have created the results that you've got. Tom, another interesting trend about self-made millionaires is they don't really follow the herd, do they? But there seems to be safety following the crowd.
Well, it's a genetic mutation, honestly, Michael, to herd. In the herd is safety. If you go back to the caveman days when, we found safety in the herd from predators. So it's thousands of years of genetic manipulation and cultural and behavioral manipulation. So, but what I found in my research, and you found it too, is the rich just don't follow the herd. They actually create their own herd. You're a perfect example of that. Metropole, how many people do you have in your herd? You have thousands and thousands of people. They create their own herd. And what I found that's interesting is millionaires have hundreds of people in their herd, decamillionaires have thousands, and billionaires have millions of people in their herd. So the more people that are in your herd and following you, the more successful and wealthy you're going to be.
I guess the corollary of that is if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get the same results that they do. And that's not a very pretty picture, is it, Tom?
No, not when 95% of the population are either middle class or struggling financially.
Well, we're working through 15 habits of self-made millionaires, and one more for this session, Tom. What's one more you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I just posted something today on the internet. I thought it was really interesting. It was a place setting, plates and forks and spoons. And anyway, I because in my book, Rich Kids, I spent a whole chapter on etiquette because it was a rich habit. It was one of the things that the wealthy people in my study kind of developed. They forged a habit of having proper etiquette. Why? Because you're going to be at functions, you're going to be at events. You have to know how to have the proper etiquette. Say please, thank you, may I. We all know these things, but you also have to know how to eat at a dinner setting. There's certain things you just need to know, and I think it's missing in today's millennial generation, primarily because, they weren't raised necessarily going to restaurants. They were going to fast food places, so they don't necessarily know the proper etiquette when it comes to dining and proper etiquette when it comes to dress. So I think, it's important. That's a rich habit that I think is really kind of missing in 95% of the population.
That's really interesting because that's not one I would have put on the top of my list. But again, that's where your background in research has come. And I know there are different cultures and there are different countries and there are different ways of doing things. But it's just not only the mannerisms you do, but it's the way that you think behind it that I guess you're talking about, Tom, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually more of being considerate of the other people around you. Instead of being me-centered, you're you-centered. Hey, I want to have proper etiquette because maybe somebody invited you, a host. Wouldn't it be terrible if you had bad etiquette? That host would never invite you, and maybe that host is a successful person and you just slammed the door on yourself and you weren't even aware of it.
Well, people judge you by the way you behave. It's a pity we say don't judge a book by its cover, but in fact, people do judge you by how you behave, how you look. So there are 5 more great habits of self-made millionaires. They've got multiple sources of income. They find mentors and they're prepared to work with mentors and learn from mentors. They have a positive attitude. They don't follow the crowd, the herd. They create their own herd, and they've got good etiquette. Tom, I've really enjoyed that, and I think if our viewers have enjoyed this session too, I'd really appreciate if they pass it on to other people. Click the social media buttons on the website that you're watching this on now, or on YouTube or on Facebook, please, because just like we want to pass the message on, I'd appreciate you do. And if, guys, you actually wanted to find out more about this, get Tom and my book, Rich Habits, Poor Habits. You get it at richhabitspoorhabits.com, or on Amazon. You can get the real book or the Kindle version, which I guess is a real book in a different way. And we'd love to share our research with you. And Tom, I really look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Yeah, I'll be back, Michael. I'm not going anywhere.
Thanks, Tom.